Good morning, Samoa, and welcome to Star Trek Picard.
Samoa, like the cookie?
No, like the American Samoa. Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 4, Vox. The season that is most definitely not a Next Generation reunion. Yeah, it's not. It's not.
Chat can't see this, but no. I'm indicating to the entirety of this screen. We'll just send me over the screenshot, and I'll just add Wesley into the corner.
Hang on. There we go. I was. No, I'm not complaining. But I want to point, because I've been staring at this frame for 5 minutes. It looks like Picard is absolutely furious at something Data's done. Troy's scowling. Riker's like, seriously, dude, what the heck? Geordi can't even make eye contact. Beverly's giving her stern, disapproving look, and I mean, Worf always looks like that. But, yeah, this, why is my mic P? I check my audio. Okay, there we go. Actually, hang on. Let me kill the engine hums for me, because I can barely hear myself think. There we go. No, this was, I really like this episode. I want to actually start off because it's fresh in my mind and there's no way I'm going to remember all of them. One very kind of minor thing I really like that this episode did, is there's a lot that it kind of had to have happen for its story to work, and it had to justify it. Not necessarily its story, like what they wanted to happen to work. I think those all did amazingly. For example, right now they're on the Enterprise D. Their little justification. Well, and Alex is here again, but like, the Enterprise D wasn't exactly in 100% at the end of the season. But they even mentioned like, oh, the nacelles and stuff came from the USS so-and-so. There was even a nod I loved. Obviously, we can't use the E. That was not my fault. Even the little things. Again, this scene has so many. Captain Picard, they get the woman whose name I can never pronounce, the voice of the computer, to do the little line that I am pretty sure is from Chain of Command Part 2, because I'm such a nerd. But the one where he's like, transferring command to Captain Jean-Luc Picard. And it's Captain, because obviously they don't have a clip of her saying Admiral. And, there's just a little joke about, oh, I'll take the field demotion. It's very little things. I'm sure I will remember a lot more as this goes on. But I just want to say, before I forget it, that was a very little thing that I actually think really helps and really makes it cohesive. There's the line as well that, like, I'd made that connection that, this change about Picard's Irribotic syndrome, would give a reason why he can still heal the voice, the collective, after Best of Both Worlds in, like, Nemesis, not Nemesis, First Contact, and others. But then the show's like, yeah, that's why I could still do it. Obviously, this season doesn't exist to explain that. But it was always an odd bit about those movies, and when Picard would encounter the Borg, maybe it is just First Contact. It's like, how does he know these things? It's a nice little, oh, that's how, we know. So I wanted to address that real little thing, before we got into the meat of the episode. But yeah, no, I liked it. Sorry, I forgot. I had another joke intro. Ladies and gentlemen, and other. What has Odo said? I loved Odo's.
Lords, ladies, and lieges.
Ladies and gentlemen's an androgynous Odo has a version of that I really like. But anyway,
oh, there's the dog.
My God, 800 some odd episodes of Star Trek. And I don't know if you caught it. I nearly missed it. But we've just had an episode of Star Trek that acknowledged when you change someone's DNA, they don't just magically update their appearance to match. Did you catch the line? It was down somewhere in here, where they were like, oh, which I'll get to that. The whole transporter thing. They've been altering people's DNA, and but it only affects people under 25 because that's when whatever area of the brain stops developing. Because when you change the DNA, it takes time for the cells to change. They probably didn't nail biology. I can't prove that they failed. I'm pretty sure they did. But my god, never is an episode, provided we don't rewatch the Klingon Augment arc to prove this wrong, never is an episode actually acknowledge that changing someone's DNA doesn't automatically update their entire physiology. Well done. Carlos A. Smith, hello! So did we watch a retake on Ron Moore, Battlestar Galactica, done Star Trek style? I have a confession. I have never seen Battlestar Galactica. I've been told it's like Deep Space Nine, but better. And I'm sure I'll love it if and when I ever get around to watching it. But Deep Space Nine is one of those shows I've awarded my little perfection medal to. And the idea of but better is kind of like, but you can't, what if it ruins Deep Space Nine? I don't know. But yeah, I can also finally talk about those subtitle spoilers. That's right, if you watch Star Trek Picard Season 2 with subtitles, in Episode 3 you would have learned that Jack was hearing the voice of the Borg Queen. Yep, that's what I've been sitting on for the past month or so. No, don't worry about it. Okay. But yeah, no, this episode, yeah, it was very enjoyable. We're getting, yeah, please do when you get that chance. I'm sure I will. I just need to buy it, and go through. But this episode, yeah, it was very enjoyable. It's addressing a lot of the mystery box. Not all of it. There's still one or two little dangling threads I think I'd like addressed. For example, why does Jack have these abilities? I'll kind of get into that more broad. Like, I know why he has it, but why does he have these specific abilities when no one else does? Well, I'll get back to that later. But, you know, a lot of things we'd already picked up on, like the transporters being a part of the plot. We'd kind of deduced the Borg involvement, even without the subtitle spoilers. And I think, as well, that transporter detail, you know, a lot of it is building up. It's making a lot of things make more sense. The transporter thing, I think, is going to go down as one of my favorite, like, twists that was always there, similar to the one I reference a lot, the Ruby and Sapphire whole thing about Steven Universe Season 1, that makes you want to go back and rewatch the whole thing and be like, how did I miss all this? A little oddity that there's no reason for Ro Laren not to use transporters, because presumably she's too old to be affected by the assimilation. But still, you know, I think you've sprinkled it very well. Watch, if you didn't already know or see the transporter connection, going and watching this season, I think it's something you will notice. And yeah, all in all, I think it's very well done. There are a few cracks, I will admit. It's introduced a few cracks in the story. I'll address the biggest one now, because honestly, the others are small enough, I've kind of forgotten. But, so the Titan shows up to Frontier Day, right? And they try and contact the fleet. Well, thank you, Paramount. What an amazing frame. They try and contact the fleet. Oop, that's not Frontier Day. Great, right? They try and hail the fleet to explain what's going on. This is like the 5th instance. If you had called ahead, it would have worked. If they had, like, hailed Starfleet instead of going to the front door and hailing Starfleet, it would have worked. But probably it would have worked better. Remember, Raffi, if she had just called ahead, the whole, like, portal weapon thing at the beginning, that would have been averted. She just called ahead. You know, I brought this up with Tuvok, where I was like, why don't they just hail Starfleet from where they are? Like, there are reasons. It would give away their location, and, you know, it would take time for Starfleet to get to them, but still, you know, that's a concern. That's a risk they might not want to take. That excuse, which first off probably should have been addressed in the show anyway, goes away here. Because as soon as they set course for Earth, they don't care if Starfleet knows where they are or not. It's more important to inform Starfleet. So they should have just broadcast a message on all frequencies towards Earth, Vulcan, Andoria, Teller Prime, like just everyone, everywhere, explaining what happened and being like, here is our footage of that time Tuvok turned into Riker's corpse, because it's not Tuvok, it's a changeling. Like, the plot, it does kind of break a bit when, like, why don't they call ahead? That's a big issue. But other than that, you know, if you can work around that, the rest of the episode stands very well, and by and large supports not just the rest of the season, but helps kind of buff up some other things, some older series, as I mentioned, Picard being able to hear the collective when he's not assimilated. And yeah, just still well done. It's not a plot that's going to absolutely blow me away when it's done and be like, oh, that was the best plot ever. But no, it's very good and it's very enjoyable. Carlos. So they redid the Borg from season 2 once again. What was the season? I don't know. Season 2 wasn't really about the Borg, was it? Like, the Borg Queen was there, and this is the proper collective. By the way, I noticed the line, no one has seen or heard from the Borg in over a decade. I'd have to check on my little timelines, but I feel like that would be around Prodigy, the last time we've seen the Borg. Of course, whether or not Starfleet would acknowledge the let sleeping Borg lie, who knows? But, you know, I like that it wasn't 25, 15 years ago, whenever First Contact would have been. Just VK, howdy y'all, that's what I was trying to explain. Even though the caption said Beverly's voice, that was a misdirect and it was a Borg imitating Beverly. No, I didn't actually see the subtitle spoilers, but it was the Reddit post I explained a while ago that kind of outlined a lot of what's turned out to be the plot. Where they claimed the subtitles said it was the Borg Queen's voice, and that's where I learned it from. The subtitles absolutely should have said Beverly's voice once the audience was able to recognize it, because the subtitles should provide all the information you get if you could actually hear it. They shouldn't provide more, and they shouldn't provide less. Like, Beverly's voice, I mean, it's misdirection, but so was actually having it be Beverly's voice in the first place. And there was the line, like, I thought it was you. You know, the Borg Queen could be putting on a mother's voice, something Jack would recognize, not just essentially, hey, that's the voice of, like, the next Hitler kind of thing. Like, you know, Starfleet knows what the Borg Queen sounds like. I'm sure you could hear record... Could you actually? Yeah, like, probably on the Enterprise E security logs, they'd have some recording of the Borg Queen's voice. And Voyager would have it, too. Gilbert, hello! We saw the Borg last season. What's she talking about? Oh, yeah. You know, Picard, I think the Borg are an underlying theme throughout the whole season. I'm also going to acknowledge, hey, it's Admiral Shelby, the Borg Admiral from TNG and Deep Space Nine. But let me change the frame up a bit. Here we go. This is appropriate. Yeah, no, the Borg are an underlying villain, theme, I'm not sure what you want to call it, about Picard. Picard is focused a lot on Locutus, on the best of both worlds. And I think it could definitely have been done more cohesive, but I think that was definitely the plan from the beginning. That plan's certainly been adapted, but if you remember, the only reason Patrick Stewart agreed to do this was a 3-season arc that, like, they already knew what it was going to be at the start. I'm sure they've pivoted, and I'm sure that's why the Borg connection isn't as strong as it could have been. It does feel a bit like a relic of a time where there was a more cohesive Borg-based story. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Deep Space Nine has 4 seasons where the Dominion is the biggest threat. You know, and we love that. I just think it could have been more cohesive, but it's not a problem that they keep popping up. And every time it's been different. It's almost been a build-up. Season 1 was the ex-Borg, you know, the Borg that were already there from before Endgame. That were just hanging around. They were ex-Borg. Season 2 was sort of a new collective, and, you know, the Queen from an alternate timeline. It was a collective, it was different, and now we have the real collective. So they're different enough. It's not just like, but I survived. Blitz through some of the comments real quick. Pure reset on the Borg. I disagree it's a reset, because Voyager... I've always said Voyager killed the Borg until such a time that a writer decides they want to tell a Borg story, and it looks like it's Borg o'clock. Just because that's what the subtitles did. Yep, they said Beverly's voice. Okay, maybe it was a different pair of subtitles. But the Borg thing was a subtitle spoiler from some episode, just apparently not episode 3. Certificate, which is why Trek subtitles are not spoilers, but just help you spell stuff essential for chat rooms. Yes, that is a good example of subtitles. I just know there are other things, like I think the Changelings were spoiled by subtitles. I don't watch it with subtitles, but it has been flagged to me. It's not just Reddit StressVK, it was someone else in the chat had pointed it out. But I mean, maybe I am wrong. It's just be weird that I've heard it from multiple sources. Gilbert, so does Beverly's comment mean season 2 of Picard was a decade prior? I doubt that. No. It's... First off, Beverly would not know about the events of Picard season 2. They were only a year prior. She might have heard about, like, the last scene, but, you know, she hasn't... She'd have no reason to know. Secondly, the Queen from that collective was from an alternate timeline. And third, when she says the Borg, she's referring to the Borg collective, like the main, you know, one hanging out in the Delta Quadrant. The thing that Girardi made isn't the Borg collective. It's a separate hive mind. It's like if... hypothetically, there was a season 4. If someone said no one's heard from the Dominion in 20 years, that would still be correct, because these changelings aren't the Dominion. They're just other changelings. It's kind of along that line of reasoning. Trustfike, I really wonder what Bugatti is doing, monitoring wormholes, and all of this is happening. I still stand by that setup for a future season. A future series. Like, it's just too weird to ignore. Yeah, I mean, if it ends up literally never being addressed and there's no plans to address it, it would be another reason season 2 is a shamble. But that's gotta be season for, like, Star Trek Janeway, Star Trek Legacy, you know, whatever comes next. But I'm sure you have to. Like, for so many people, this right here is modern-day Star Trek. And you just have to keep pushing it forward. You know, it's what Deep Space Nine, and Voyager did. It's what the movies did. It's what Lower Decks Prodigy Picard did. Someone has to keep pushing this timeline, and so I'm sure that's going to be set up. But enough about the comments then. Let's go actually getting into the meat of this episode. A bit weird, actually. They gave an explanation for why Picard's body was in Daystrom Station. Look at this. You can see the frame I want. It's right there. But that's not the frame when I click. Paramount, why do you do this? And it's different from the one that's on, like, those background plaques. Like, this doesn't explain why Kirk's body is in Daystrom Station. It doesn't explain what Project Phoenix is. I just found that a little weird. I mean, it's hardly the first example of some background detail contradicting the story. It's fine, but I found that odd. Colors A. Smith, everything happening in 2401, Season 1 and 2, And then a major reset for Season 3, all within 2401. Season 1 begins near the end of 2399. Yep, it's pretty consistent throughout every Star Trek that one season equals 1 year. Or thereabouts. I think it's actually like 7 months in a season, which I assume is how long it took to broadcast. But it's around about a year. Something I didn't consider from last episode, this whole thing, which for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to call a mind meld. I know it's not, but it basically is a mind meld with a different name. Are we saying this is something that Troy can, like, just do? Because I don't know, I kind of took it as because of Jack's abilities, this can happen. Troy can do this. But if this is something that she can just, like, do, you really think it would have come up before. It's another weird little bit of seeming to give Troy more abilities that neither she nor Betazoids ever seem to have. But, I mean, my headcanon will just be that because of Jack's weird abilities, this is possible. It works. But yeah, very disappointed, of course, that Spock's brain was not behind the red door. 0 out of 10. Absolutely. But yeah, I don't have too much to say about this opening sequence, because surprisingly, the mystery box is really over in the latter part of the episode. I'll say my biggest problem with this episode, and after this point, I think it really does improve. I don't really understand this conflict between Jack and Picard. I'm gonna address this comment, and I'm gonna come back to this point, because it's gonna be a long point. Gilbert says, so with Picard's body, did I miss something along the way? Was there an earlier episode in the series that explains what happened to his body, or is Season 3 of Picard the first for all of us? It's never stated in Season 1 what happens to Picard's body. I think the assumption was that they just, buried it, burned it, whatever. It was never stated, so there's no reason, like, someone couldn't have picked it up and studied it. We could say Picard donated it for research on Irumodic syndrome. That's probably the pretense. That's probably why Dr. Soong had it, and then Section 31 eventually co-opted it. I would imagine that's a sequence of events, but no, it was never explained. VK, someone mentions that Betazoid's abilities get stronger with age, like Roxana. That helps, but I still find it weird that we've never seen any Betazoid do this. We haven't seen many Betazoids, I'll grant you that. And I don't know if there's been an opportunity Roxana has where it would have made sense. But it still feels odd to kind of insert it. Like, if they could do this, I don't know, you think it'd be more widely used, but maybe it's just a problem I have. But getting to this, yeah, the central conflict between Jack and Picard, where now they see him as some sort of threat. Oh, sorry, Gilbert. I had no idea he had a new body until Season 3 of Picard. Yeah, so in Season 1, because some people would have skipped that, Picard died of Irumodic syndrome. Or actually, the whole Borg thing. But they thought it was his Irumodic syndrome. Basically, because one of the Soongs, Alton Soong, who we've never met until Season 1, was building, like, a synthetic body he was going to put himself in to live forever. But instead, they put Picard's consciousness into the synthetic body and made it mortal. So basically, they made it about the age he should be, and they made it so he'll die in, like, his natural lifespan. So yes, that's Season 1. He died of Irumodic... this episode does explain it. He died of Irumodic syndrome, and they put him in a synthetic body. But it probably was pretty jarring. Yeah, you need to rewatch Season 1. I don't remember that. It's the last episode, I'm pretty sure. But Picard's body is the same as Data's new body. Now back to, okay, comments are on pause. I'll read them later. The central conflict between Jack and Picard. I don't really understand. Sorry, not Jack and Picard, Starfleet as a whole. If you want Jack to kind of freak out that he might be Borg, fine. You know, I don't like it because I don't see it as super logical, but it's not what I would do is not a good complaint. It's not a good criticism. The real problem I have is that, first off, there are protocols for this situation. I'm sorry, what are those protocols? Because this is like several layers of something we've never seen before. But accepting, there are protocols for this situation. Not even that, like, why do they see Jack as a threat? Jack is very powerful, yeah. He has abilities that I don't think any other species we know of has. But we've seen no indication whatsoever that Jack is suddenly going to turn into a Borg drone or suddenly be taken over by the collective. In fact, we have a lot of evidence to the contrary. Like, Beverly has lived with him his entire life and never seen any of this. He's done, like, has spent his whole life trying to help people and make others' lives better. He has been taken over by some sort of instinct when his life is in severe danger. And yeah, he's killed under that. But that's when, like, people are trying to kill him. And yes, that's still something that, like, they should try and work out, try and deal with. But that's not an imminent threat. And even if they don't address it at all, the only people he could possibly kill are people who are trying to kill him. Which at the moment is nobody on the ship. I don't understand why everyone's so afraid of him. Like, the whole reason Jack runs off isn't because he suddenly thinks that he's Borg. Like, yes, he technically does. I guess they shouldn't have sent Picard to, like, give him a pep talk, for lack of a better words. But, like, if this scenario had gone, they learned the truth, Picard, we'll even keep it as Picard. Picard goes to Jack and explains this, and this whole thing, like, no, I was fully assimilated, and I left it. Like, I also lived with exactly what you had for longer than you've been alive, and I've been Jean-Luc Picard. I've lived by, like, my own values, my own beliefs. Everything, like, is just me. I was traumatized by the event, but other than that, I'm the same Picard after Locutus as I was before. And what the hell do you mean? Like, yes, you have these abilities what were given to you intentionally or otherwise by the Borg, but everything else is still Jack. Like, why would these little DNA sequences fundamentally change who you are? You're still the same person you've always thought you were. Yes, perhaps, like, you know, he goes on to say, I always thought if people could be one mind, you know, see each other, hear each other, things would be better. Maybe that is from the Borg. You know, maybe that's some subconscious drive. But equally, maybe it's not. There are plenty of people in the real world who think that or things like that. And obviously have not been assimilated by the Borg. And, like, even if it's true, Jack's taken that desire to try and do good, to try and make the universe a better place. I don't understand why they're treating Jack the way they are. And it kind of feels like they're doing it because the story needs Jack to go to the Borg. It doesn't work for me. And after this point, think it's a great season. It's a great episode. But this feels like one of those scenarios, like you're watching a sitcom and there's one of those comedy misunderstandings. And you're like, oh my god, just provide the details. You know, it's that kind of setting. But instead of that, it's like, oh my god, just treat this like a normal person is kind of my reaction. And it was the weakest point of the episode by far. But it was also kind of the weak point of the episode. Everything else was either, like, good or strong. Jack's Law. Their fear of the Borg puts Jack on his side of his own. And the show turns it to an old against the young, but their age should be enough to make them know better. You can have a fear of the Borg. As much as it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, Picard has a well-established irrationalness when it comes to the Borg. Like, when he shows up on the artifact, and he's like, you can't fix these Borg. You know, they're Borg. Like, forever. Once a Borg, always a Borg. It's like, Picard, you're literally Locutus. Like, what the heck? Oh, and that's another point. Like, Jack hasn't even been assimilated. And here's a list of people who've been fully assimilated and totally removed from the collective and are not a threat. Jean-Luc Picard, Hugh, 7 of 9, Captain Janeway, Tuvok. Let's see, moving around. We've seen some random drones. The titular of 9 in 7 of 9, they got removed from the collective. Everybody on the artifact. The Borg Queen herself in Season 2. Like, Icheb? Wait. Did he? Yes, Icheb and the other kids. There's an endless list of people who've been removed from the collective. 7 was there basically her whole life, and the Picard and crew were acting like Jack Crusher has never been assimilated, but he's got some Borg DNA that Picard also has, and therefore he's a massive threat that could become the Borg collective at any second. Like, even if he does, we know how to disconnect him from the collective. We've done it a dozen times or more. Why is this a threat? But again, going back to the issue, you can have people like Picard. What's his face? Captain Ransom? He has reason to be irrational about the Borg. But, like, Dr. Crusher, Troy, who actually, with her empathic abilities, knows this kid, Riker, like, 7 of 9, why do these people react the way they do about Jack? It doesn't work for me. Like, you can have the individuals with irrational feelings towards the Borg, but I feel like society as a whole should know better. If you don't have that personal connection, why can't you see this as not an issue? Moving on then, unless any comment pops up with something to add. Maybe another thing for me as well is, I've said this before, I don't think Best of Both Worlds is that good. There we go, hot take. It's not controversial to say that since their first opinion, let me find a good screen cap for this, the Borg, come on, the Borg, I don't know, let's just change the picture. The Borg have been kind of diminished. Their capacity as a threat has been lowered. They've been made worse as villains. Most people say that starts at Voyager. I think that starts at Best of Both Worlds, their second ever appearance. The whole concept of Locutus not only ruins the Borg for me, it doesn't really make sense. I think the tension isn't, like, anything noteworthy. I'll admit, yes, it is after the fact. I realized there was a very real possibility Jean-Luc would not have showed up for season 3 back in the day, but it's not back in the day when I watched it, and it's fine, but it's not like an episode that's worth going back to so many times to me. I might even say the the brothers. What is it? It's the one after Best of Both Worlds is better than Best of Both Worlds. And that might diminish from some of these stories that keep going back to Wolf 359 and all this stuff, is I'm like, I mean, it was fine, but, like, I don't feel I have to revisit it because it was fine. Stressificate, to me, being assimilated. Also, I managed to keep the same amount of viewers through my whole speech about why Best of Both Worlds is bad. So, kudos to me. To me, being assimilated is like getting an HIV diagnosis because it can be treated. Untreated, it's pretty bad, and Deanna freaking out sort of sucks. I mean, that's a great example, because things like HIV or the AIDS, what do they call it? Not like the AIDS scare, but in like the early 2000s, it was a big thing. I was too young. But that's the whole point, is I was too young and also just kind of missed a lot of the stuff around that. Like, there was a very good societal reasons. Well, I mean, justification. It made sense for someone like 20 years ago to be really paranoid about someone who has like AIDS or HIV. But if you're someone like me, who was either too young to really go through that or just happened to miss it, I'm not gonna react like that. A great example from another show is in Doctor Who. In the reboot, like the first season, when Rose and the Ninth Doctor encounter a Dalek, the Doctor is like hyper irrational and like murder crazy to kill the Dalek. Like, the Dalek is the epitome of evil. It is genocide incarnate. The Daleks are the people who destroyed his home world, who forced him to not only commit genocide against the Daleks, but his own people. They're the reason his planet doesn't exist. They're the reason he's alone in the universe. There's the reason he spent untold centuries fighting a Cthulhian, Lovecraftian time war. And Rose sees an alien who's been mistreated that she knows nothing about, and she's super sympathetic because she doesn't have that experience to know what a Dalek is. And that's the thing, like, there should be people on the ship who act like Rose seeing the Dalek, because there's, like, logically, if Spock was here, he'd be like, what the heck? Like, there's logically no reason that any of you should be reacting like this. And I feel a reasonable reaction would be, look, this is something we're gonna have to watch, but, like, we've got bigger threats, and once this whole Frontier Day is sorted, which is in, like, a max the next few hours, either the Federation falls or we fix it, then we can actually, like, look into this, see if there's anything we can do. But in the meantime, we're here for you. Like, I feel that's the normal reaction to this sequence of events, but that's not what we get. And even these speeches are so botched when, like, Jack's voicing his very real concerns, and Picard's not going, Jack, I was assimilated and I got past it. He goes, Jack, I was assimilated and you have no idea what it's like to be controlled by them and what they can do, and I'm afraid you're gonna become that. It's like, what? Picard, do you want him to run away? Because this is how you get him to run away. Carlos. With a great massacre of Elder officers within the fleet and on the ground, Starfleet is severely weakened. This is much worse against Deep Space Nine Dominion War and the 7th Fleet total destruction, real bad. That hasn't happened yet, but I'm going to get to the Starfleet fleet once we actually reach Frontier Day. Another, actually, thing I think that's handled really well. But, yeah, they didn't need this, in my opinion. But I like that Jack can only control people who also have this Borg DNA. And so that's what the transporters are used for. It gives them the solid reasoning. That's why this never came up after Best of Both Worlds for Picard. Brilliant. That's all I want. Just if you're going to introduce something new like this that probably would have come up in the past, this is how you do it. This on its own is probably enough justification for why Jack has these abilities that Picard and no other assimilated person ever had. Is that they maybe do have these abilities, but this is the first time in the history of the universe they've had a chance to use them. Great. Like, what was my original point? God dang it. Let's just stick with that. That was great. Best of Trek, worst of Trek. Jack's speech at the beginning is one of the most Star Trek speeches in the run of New Trek. Which speech are you referring to? Because I seem to have forgotten it. Oh, this, with the red planet, whatever? Because I legitimately don't remember this. If it's this speech, I might have to listen back to it. Yeah. Gilbert, given the weakening after the Dominion War and the total loss of senior leadership in Frontier Day, Starfleet probably won't recover, probably won't remain a major power in the sector. I think that's overstating it a little bit. Like, their fleet is... Well, we'll have to see what happens next episode, but right now, Starfleet has lost one ship, and presumably Earth Starbase. And that's the extent of their casualties. You can recruit new officers, but Jack's Law, as bad as they act, it's not against character for any of them. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's against character. It just, to me, it seems like an unreasonable reaction for everyone to take. Just to me. Best Trek, worst of Treks, I wish people could be one. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I listened to it in the context of, like, this does sound a lot like the Borg. And it's kind of good. Like, it's a speech of two parts. The whole thing about, like, first off, let's gloss over the fact he claims that he knows the world is full of, war, poverty, bigotry, yada yada. I'm just gonna read...
Why are you looking at me?
I'm just looking away from the mic. I don't know. I'm gonna pretend he said galaxy and leave it at that. But the idea of, like, if everyone could just see each other, hear each other, all that would go away. Yeah, that's a probably true sentiment in a lot of ways. If you look at some of the big ones, I mean, obviously the kind of real world equivalent I know best is the American Civil Rights Movement. You know, the way that's taught is often one of the big things that helped that succeed was how televised the, like, horrors of the Deep South were. And it made the North, and I mean the rest of the nation, not just the North, a lot more sympathetic and aware of what was going on. You know, there's definitely truth to that idea. If we could really see the hardships and understand them, we'd do more to fix them. We'd do more to make the world better. There's also the side that if everyone could think one way, be controlled by one mind, it's also true that the world would not have poverty or bigotry or war, but it's also an evil thought. I mean, it just is. If I could bend everyone in the universe to my will, the world would be a better place. Yeah, that's not a good thought. It's probably true, but that's when the sentiment becomes the Borg, or it becomes authoritarianism. It's more a speech that kind of, like, without saying it, kind of makes the audience think about the line. I don't know, when does one become the other? Which in that sense is a very Star Trek speech. Carlos, that part was modern Earth talk, not the future he is in. Well, as we've established, I think very much on these live streams, the Federation of Picard is a modern-day government living in a modern-day world. That's just what it is. It's why I don't even bat an eye when he says all these things. I mean, galactically, he's right. The galaxy has all these things. He just said world, because that's how we'd say it. But, yes, this Federation acts like a modern-day government in a modern-day world. This is known. Goes, there will be no creative thought, there will be no place to dream. It sounds like a Cyberman speech now. Who was first? The Cybermen were first, right? Not the Borg? Yeah, the Cybermen were like 69.
Yeah, 69.
Moving on. Are we gonna get... What's he looking at? Because we're gonna play Spot the Starship a lot in this series, don't you worry. Yeah, I'm very glad they didn't have him warp to the Delta Quadrant in a shuttle. Thank you. In fact, they let the audience pick up what a transwarp conduit was, if you happen to know what tachyon emissions and whatever the other thing is. Very nicely done. Carlos says hi. Alex, Carlos says hi.
Hi. I'm watching Sonic and eating Girl Scout cookies.
I legitimately can't remember what this scene... Oh, yeah, no, after he left, I think there were a lot of good scenes. Like, after that low point, the episode really picked up for me. I love watching Data exist, just go about his life, dancing around proper nouns, with kind of the new... There's sort of feelings and stuff, just the way he's interacting and how he's seeing the world. His little hand on the shoulder to Picard. Picard's look... I mean, this episode, I think, really... I'm hesitant to say was recovered by, but is definitely made up of, I think, 1,000 very little moments. Like, I'd love to get the look on Picard's face when... Data puts his hand on the shoulder, like, for the first time in 20-something years. He's hurting, but he still has friends. It's just these great little show-don't-tell moments. Gilbert, yeah, it is kind of weird, but it shouldn't be. It was pointed out to me recently that, like, Generations gave him what I'm going to call, is dancing around proper nouns, is the E-chip that he took from lore. In First Contact, he shut it off about midway through the movie. In Insurrections, he left it at home. And in Nemesis, I think it was broken or something. Like, ever since he got it, since Generations, they had to write an excuse to remove it. So yeah, Data's been like sort of the same old logical Data in everything except Generations, but I like it. I mean, it's how you justify bringing him back to me, is to do that little new thing. And, like, he's still the same character. He's not changed in that, like, oh, has a dark past, and he's old and gritty now, and he's fundamentally a different character. No, he's grown, and it's a natural continuation, if not conclusion. It's a conclusion in his arc in that he's finished it now. It's done. The thing that he's started since, like, TNG of Season 1, it's done. But after, the credits roll next episode, he's gonna be out there doing stuff. We just don't see it. He's gonna be in the world, still going on with his life. And it's very well done in that sense. I'm very happy with how they've handled Data. I've also realized it's kind of is it a dick move that Alton made a body so old? Like, yes, it's that age, because that's the age Brent Spiner is. But Data will probably live for, like, 30 years max, right? Like, he's gonna have a surprisingly short lifespan, I think. And it just feels weird with, like, that Alton would make it that age to me. It feels kind of like a dick move. I mean, I guess it's kind of... He'll have aged with his friends. I mean, there's pros and cons, but it kind of hit me. Like, huh. It's a bit odd. Carlos, well, did they do a copy and paste part 2 for the fleet display? It was never impossible to tell what class was there. Oh, we'll go through. You could see a lot of ships. They definitely copy and pasted in the sense that they literally are not 150 unique starship designs, because that would be absurd. But it's a diverse fleet. Don't worry, we'll play Spot the Starship, and I will talk about the fleet when we get there. And I mean, yeah, it's really just a lot of explanation. Very well done. I'd love, this is what I'd like an explanation for, is how did this in Picard become this in Jack? I hope it turns out there was some plan the Borg had with Locutus all along that actually might help make Best of Worlds better for me. It would give Locutus a reason to exist, not just destroy the fact that the Borg are a hive mind to me. But this is the one thing I'm hoping gets addressed. Like, sure, this could be a random mutation. This could have just happened, but that's kind of contrived. I feel like you really want more. And I this is the one bit of the mystery box that's kind of left I hope gets addressed. I mean, there's more. Why are the changelings with the Borg? How did that happen? What's going on? That should get addressed, I think. But this is the one thing that if it's not addressed, it'll feel like a hole. Best of Trek, worst of Trek. When the Excelsior was blown up, is that an unceremonious way of killing Elnor? Was Elnor on the Excelsior? Whoops. Maybe. That's a thought. I wouldn't have minded him in Legacy if they end up making it. Like, if they actually give that character something to do. But, yeah, I guess he's... Well, no, because Elnor's young. But, no, that's true. They blew up the I don't know. If they want to bring Elnor back, he escaped in a shuttle. He was sick that day and couldn't show up. He was on whatever the planet is, like, looking after his Quat Mulan mother or something. Like, you can make it happen. But yeah, I guess Elnor's dead.
Look at your dog.
Oh my goodness, come mate. You flopping off the chair. Yeah, I guess Elnor's dead. Oh well. People love Elnor. He was really good in his first episode, and then he hasn't had anything to do since, so he just felt like surplus. They've had to get excuses to get rid of him. I've talked about this before. Here we go. Everyone ready to play Spot the Starship? Oh yeah, here we go. Spot the Starship. Stress VK. That's why I wanted Data to be downloaded into a younger actor. Eventually, he really should live on for centuries. I don't think so, because I think Data wouldn't want that. But, I don't know. There are reasons to do either way. Carlos, don't expect a grand explanation. New Trek never gave one. Elnor, bye-bye. I wouldn't be surprised if Elnor never gets addressed, unless they make Legacy. But, no, I think this season's been doing great with explanations. Are we ready? Resnick. Nelson Mendel. USS Luna, I did see that. Free Sword, Clark, Excelsior, I hope you survive. Ross. I noticed this, I think, in an earlier episode. Admiral Ross is in the one from Deep Space Nine to work with Section 31, implying he never really got comeuppance for that. I think I mentioned this on a stream. There's a Reddit line that someone would have loved if the reason Riker knew about Section 31, if he had the line, I know, I've watched Admiral Ross's trial, which I would have loved that line. Bye-bye headcanon. Magellan, Sutherland. I recognize... Oh, wait, no, that's a character in Star Trek. Akunda, Gilgamesh, Himalaya, Oberon, Appalachia. I think that is one of the first contact fleet. Ganymede, Callisto. Oh, I see, you went for a theme. Luna classes, then? Because they're moons of the Sol system. Venture, Drexler, Akira. Hey, that's a low registry number. I bet that's our Akira, like first contact Akira. Excelsior, the new one is gone. It got trapped hard. Yeah, I'm disappointed we didn't see the Excelsior, but just looking at the registry, that is not NCC 2000. Gagarin, I noticed that. Later on, I thought we saw the Gagarin when we had, like, physically. But, yeah, that's a Stowe ship. Hugnes, I don't remember how to pronounce it. It's the lander from Cassini, isn't it? Trio. Thunderchild! Hey, there's a first contact buddy. Reliant. Refit, looking at that registry. Don't know how to say that. Ibn al-Haytham. Is that another? Hang on. USS Clark. Hang on a minute. 90206, 90206. You thought I wouldn't notice. There's 2 Clarks. 0 out of 10. This is a copy-paste fleet. That's the same registry and everything. Like, at least change the number. Come on. John Kelly. Name sounds familiar, but I don't recognize it. Forrest is an Admiral Forrest. Ooh. Enterprise Admiral. That's a nice touch. Zhang He. Yep, hello. Amethella. Helios. Also sounds familiar, but I think that's just a common term. Shackleton. Rabin. It's cut off a bit. And I'm gonna assume Christopher Pike. But that's a good... I like that. That's a good mix of some ships we know that would still be in service, you know, Dominion War era ships. Yeah, Carlos, you're right. Of all these unique names, the 2 USS Clarks. Come on. Yeah, there's some Gilgamesh. Yep, I know the first story ever written that survives. The Gilgamesh. There's some historical references. It's very diverse. I wish it was perhaps less human-centric, but there's some nice little Easter eggs like the Ross, the Forrest, the Christopher Pike that really should be there, but it's not overdone. I know later on, spoiler warning, there's the like Hakata Suru, but it's a nice collection of ships. Now, are we ready? Here's my next little bit of praise. I love that they never show the whole fleet. Now, you might say, isn't this the whole fleet? Probably. But every time we see it, it bunches up against the edge of the screen where it could be continuing. Because there's no way they could ever show the whole Starfleet fleet and have it be believable. It would always seem too small. Like, even this seems kind of small, but we can always just kind of pretend it goes off the edge more. Like, I feel the final battle of Deep Space Nine had this many ships, and that was just like 1 or 2 fleets. But let's see. Do we get to see any of them? Oh, hang on. I've got to go get her. One sec. Here we go. The moment we've all been waiting for. NCC 1701F, my Eagle Moss model. Fun story. But since last stream, I actually bought a capture card, which, if you don't know, basically is a thing that lets me use my camera as a webcam, because I don't have a webcam. I have it, but I can't light myself when I do these live streams. If I'd remembered the Enterprise F, I probably would have set that up, so you could see my Eagle Moss model. But let's see. They can borrow from the Stowe Library, but not from CBS Paramount Library. It costs mucho money. Carlos, give me 10 minutes, and I'll show you they borrowed from that library too. Look at that. The moment... I've been waiting for this to be canonized since Lower Decks, and I'm quite frankly astonished that Picard canonized it first. But yeah, it's got the black and the white. I'm going to stream this, screw it. It's got the black and the white. Blue tinted windows. I'm not usually a fan of the Stowe designs. I'm looking at my model. It's spot on. Everything. Look, it's even got the little shuttle, like the little baby that gets pooped out the end. I generally am not a big fan of the Stowe designs. I've got some from Eagle Moss. That's, I think, gonna help improve my opinion. But I adore the F. It might be my favorite, starship, just full stop, my favorite one. It's so great for like the 52nd, the 25th century, kind of a new golden age. Like between TOS and TNG, there were no really threats, no wars, no anything. That really feels like what the 25th century would be to me. It's It's huge. It's majestic. It's so Enterprise. I love the neck. I love the split. It's God, I'm so happy. I'm so happy it's canonized now. I want an XL, but if you don't know, the Enterprise F from Star Trek Online was a fan design. One of, in my opinion, the few amazing fan designs, like the Titan, that just... It's beloved. It's a beloved. The Odyssey is my ship, and that is an escort ship. The Aquarius, thank you. I can never remember its name. Yeah, it's got a little baby ship in its butt that it can poop out. Yeah, that's the description I'm going with. It's adored. I adore it. It's always my stow ship, both times I've played. It's beautiful. I like the Admiral Ross inclusion as well. I literally would have missed it if they didn't call her by name. Not Ross. Is it Ross? Oh my god. This is one of the main TNG admirals. She was in Deep Space Nine in an episode or two. The command deck borrowed from Discovery. Oh, hang on. Let's take a look at that. I didn't even know. Look, you gave me the outside of the Enterprise F. You can Discovery your interior as much as you want. I'll get to the interiors when we get to the Enterprise D. But, I mean, this is how you do fan service. Shelby! Thank you, Gilbert. I like how the two comments are Kirby and Shelby. Yeah, I mean, it's darker than I would have liked. It's more metallic than I would have liked, but you've just given me the Enterprise F, and quite frankly, I'll take it. Thank you, Picard. And I mean, Star Trek isn't a stranger to borrowing sets. It does it all the time. I just, in the modern era, I'm not a big fan of the Discovery aesthetic that they borrow from. I wonder if we get a top shot of the Enterprise D. I want to get, though, this screen behind 7. Oh, look! Another map! I do like the amount of maps we get in modern Star Trek. I don't think there's too much else. The Borg! Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the original Borg Queen from First Contact, right? If it's not, this is the best impression I've ever heard in my entire life. That's not true. Go Google the guy who does Matt Smith's 11th Doctor for Big Finish. That's amazing. But, I mean, I love that they brought her back, assuming that it is. The Borg Cube looks pretty good. We haven't seen too much of it, but it's green again. None of the artifacts, blue lighting. I've realized I don't think I have too much to say about the scenes themselves because they're mostly unraveling the mystery box. But this episode was a 1,000 little moments that just work really well. Yeah, Shelby, also not a fan of the Borg. That's why I really like it. I'm gonna get into... I'm going to come back to this comment. And yes, the original Borg from First Contact. She did the voice. Is she not doing the actual Queen? Because, I mean, if we never see her face, that's all right. I would not have mind an older-looking Borg Queen. I mean, she is a cyborg. She is organic as well as technological. But... yeah, Shelby not a fan of the Borg. I like that it's Shelby because of this whole... we talked about this scene, the interconnected fleet things, because it is very Borg. And I actually want to address it again. The other part, I mean, hearing Shelby actually explain what formation is, first off, hilarious. She's like, and now, 250 years later, we have invented something that'll, like, take Starfleet to the next level. Formation. I think I laughed at that level because that line. I know that's the name of the system, but it sounds like the comically horrible Starfleet security that's like, finally, everyone, it's taken 250 years, but we've learned how to fly our ships in formation. God, it's a dumb name. It made me laugh. But, if you don't know, I am a computer scientist. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. I do computer science. I'm a software engineer, which means I will deal with security-related things in my line of work that are very similar to this.
One of these is significantly less impressive than the others.
Well,
it's a computer science. No, I'm just kidding.
I bring this up because the idea of formation, hearing it that pitch, is so fundamentally, incredibly moronic that even a compromised Starfleet security, it seems unbelievable they could get that to happen. 'Cause, like, is the president a changeling? 'Cause, like, someone's gotta approve this. Like, if Starfleet actually said this, I'd imagine every single leader of the Federation would get up and say, "Are you a fucking moron?" Like, oh my god, this is the biggest security risk I've ever heard in my entire life. I know Starfleet is compromised, but this is so much of a security risk, it's hard to even imagine a compromised Starfleet getting this to happen. Like, wow. Especially, I've just remembered, like 10 years ago, the finale of Prodigy happened, in which every starship in the Federation became connected and talked to each other and almost destroyed the Federation. Like, how did this get approved? I mean, that's amazing. This terrorist organization is like the most make things happen organization in the history of the universe. It's not, I mean, Starfleet is compromised, but like, wow, that to me was just like, how did you do this? I'd imagine the citizens of Earth would be the Federation would be an outrage. I like this Borg interior. It's hollow, it's cavernous, and like probably bigger than it needs to be, but we've seen that from the Borg before. And this is a very amazing modern take on what we would have seen in Voyager, and presumably TNG, but Voyager to me. Carlos, they did a shadow shot, but it looks larger from the movie. The Borg Queen? Hang on, dog is getting into something. Comment. Why are you eating a cardboard box for cup holders? Where'd you even get this?
I don't know where he got it.
Oh, I think it's the root beer float thing. Just VK, maybe this explains why it's only the Earth-based ships that are part of this formation. The Vulcans, it all clearly know better. No, I disagree, actually. We get two lines. Most people say the entire fleet is in this one location, which is also pretty dumb, but, I mean, the Romulans and the Klingons aren't gonna attack. I don't think the Dominion's gonna attack. Like, a compromised Starfleet could do that. And even then, a non-compromised Starfleet, that's the kind of idiotic security decision I could see them making. I don't like it when the newer shows show, like, Vulcan ring ships and stuff. I loved it in Enterprise, but I feel like they work best as something before Zefram Cochrane came along and, like, revolutionized warp travel. I think the Federation fleet should look consistent, and like the Federation fleet, each planet, except presumably Earth, has its own set of starships. Like, you know, for planetary defense, basically, you know, in America, you've got, like, the state police, the county police, the federal police, you know, you've got levels. But, like, Starfleet is the primary defense for everyone. You'd have some local planetary defense that's probably separate from Starfleet, but I don't think it's just Earth ships at all. Moving on. Yeah, again, just call ahead, people. Come on. This whole thing could have been averted if you just hailed someone from 1,000 light years away. again, I think I've talked a lot about just the general ways in which this series has done good. We might have another game of Spot the Starship. Oh, look at that, we do. Yeah, there it is, the Karasuru. Cochrane, good name. Excelsior. Luna. Intrepid. 7-9. Is that the original Intrepid? Is in, like, Intrepid class, Voyager class. The Clark, I'm going to choose to believe this is a third Clark. Fireswood. Venture. The Venture sounds familiar, and that registry is low enough to be Deep Space Nine, but I don't recall it. Magellan, Ross, Drexler, Okunda. Is that the guy who does the diagrams? Star Trek Okunda. Yes, if you don't know, Michael Okunda is the guy who did all the LCARs for, I mean, I think he still does some of them, like TNG through to now. So yeah, nice to give him a ship. Titan.
Is that a baby butt? That's a baby
yeah,
butt.
Gilgamesh, Akunda, I read that. Oberon, Mandel, Nelson Mandel, Resnick, the one I can't pronounce, and Trumdal. So yeah, more Spot the Starship, a lot of the same ones. Here we go. So yeah, looking at the fleet organization, Carlos, here's borrowing from Paramount's and CBS's library. If I have a complaint about this fleet, it's that it's actually remarkably outdated. Some Sovereign classes, yeah, they would still hold their own today. Actually, no. Are those Odyssey classes? Because that up there's a Sovereign, right? Or is that something... I can't quite tell. Sovereign, Odysseys, they're definitely Sovereigns in this fleet, though. Oh, Zhang He, so yeah, Inquiry classes. I can't make these guys out. I don't think they're Akira's, the nacelles are going the wrong way. But Steam Runners, is that a Pathfinder from Stowe? I know they have a Pathfinder model. God, there's one to get the Eagle Moss model of. I don't think that's a Galaxy class. I think they call it Andromeda. Again, it's a Stowe ship. You look new. Stargazers. I saw the Stargazer. I don't remember the class of that one because I'm a bad Trekkie. Titan, of course. I'm glad that it is the only Titan. It deserves to die in a fire like it was Captain Shaw. Did I skip the part where he died? Because I've had this whole joke about I knew I should have bought one of those party roll-up, like, you know. Yeah, you know those things. I'm gonna buy one after this for the next time they kill off a Captain Shaw and I can celebrate with. I'm much more on board with Star Trek Legacy now that Shaw's dead. That's what I have to say about that. I think this is a Pathfinder class. Let me get one. For those of you who don't know. Star Trek USS Pathfinder? Stowe ships vary, but it's gonna look something like this. And hey, there we go. Gonna have to pick one of those up from Master Replicas. But this is a diverse fleet. I swear there's a Defiant. At least one. I could have sworn I saw Defiance in this fleet. But it's a great mix of Dominion War era ships, the ships you've already seen from the 25th century, some Stowe that's been established. As much as I'm not a fan of Stowe's fleet in general, and I think that'll probably change with Eagle Moss, maybe seeing them in the shows, I like that they're using Stowe. They're putting Stowe ships and canonizing it, because it is a beloved fleet. I'm in a minority of not really liking Stowe's fleet. And, I mean, it's smart. It's respect for your... I mean, not canon in this case, but it's respect for the fan base at the very least. If this is our space dock, though, I hate it. It can go die in a fire. Which, to be fair, I suppose it is. Also, has anyone noticed that Picard seems to really like making great historic days the source of terrorist attacks? First Contact Day is now like Mars Remembrance Day. The the anniversary of the day the NX-01 went on its mission, which, yes, would be a very important day for not just Starfleet, but the Federation as a whole. That's now today. Stress VK, maybe this explains why it's only, oh, I read that one. I'm still not sure Shaw's dead. Brandy Jacola surmised that Seven gave a strange look, as if she might supply Shaw with some of her nanites. You know what? As much as I hate Shaw, I have to admit that would be a very interesting premise for a character. I think it's the actor grasping at straws or wanting their character to be alive. But Shaw is someone who has serious trauma with the Borg and a hatred toward the Borg, probably enforced by the events of the next episode. Becoming themselves an ex-Borg is a very interesting place to have a character. That could be interesting to watch. And yeah, he said 7 of 9. I think I say as well, they if he's gonna say it, it'll be like when he dies or the last end of the season. Is that the Gagarin? I don't know. We'll come back. I also find these formations really weird, but hey, all power to you. It is still Starfleet, after all. Also, I've noticed, as they start sidelining their new cast, like Raffi and Shaw, I'm enjoying the series more and more. This is why I'm not the biggest fan of Star Trek Legacy. But, not to just cast such wide net. Jack's a good character. The LaForges, they haven't had much to do, but they're good from what I've seen. They're not all bad. They're probably majority good. But the bad ones are really bad. Going on, I think it's just a fight scene. I think I want to get to the Enterprise now. Oh, there we go. There he dies. Everyone, hang on. No, it's going to take too long. I was going to get like a recording of one of those party, just, yay. That's not the reaction I'm supposed to have. But, he did a good job with the part he was given, the actor. I just don't like the part he was given. Let's take a look at this weird look, though, that Seven supposedly gave him. Is it this look? I don't think so. Maybe it is. He's dead. I don't know. That doesn't look like the woman who's about to save someone's life. The face of a woman who's about to do some heroic deed to me. By the way, this Earth is incredible. But here you go, see more clearly. Titan. Ah, there it is, the Gagarin. A ship that I'm gonna have to steal from Master Replicas at some point. Who was the first guy in space? Gagarin? No, I just said Gagarin. Yuri? I can't remember the name of the Stargazer's class.
Yuri on Ice?
It's a different Stargazer, it's not a constellation. Yeah, this guy's new. I don't recognize it. And there are some Lunas. Yeah, there's a Sovereign. There's 2 Odysseys. Look at that. It's part of the fleet now. Steam Runner. Pathfinder. Yeah, look, there's a Pathfinder class. Gagarins. Are there really no Defiants? I could have sworn. Oh, yeah, look up there. There's 4 little Defiants. 8 little Defiants. Still in the fleet. I could have sworn there was a... Oh, yeah, look, down here. There's a Luna class. Well, duh, the USS Luna. But then again, the Titan is also in this fleet. And yeah, I don't think they're galaxies. I think they're Andromedas. They could be galaxies. I don't know. It'd be weird. The Galaxy class does feel a little outdated, but if you have some still around, I mean, it's hardly a antiquated ship. It's just not your best one. Maybe those are Galaxy classes. I don't know. But yeah, I'm very happy with that fleet. I also like that the TMP fleet isn't around anymore. I really like how it's handled. I like that that's the generation that's went so long. But after the Dominion War, they really shouldn't be around. Like, even the ships that are still serviceable, they're just too antiquated. There have been too many developments, and at that point, there's so few, you should put them in a museum. And I'm actually very happy we've kind of moved past that fleet, and we've pushed the ones that were in that fleet forward. There are Miranda replacements, there are Excelsior replacements that are still basically an Excelsior with new nacelles. Noteworthy, actually, is that I don't see an Excelsior class or anything like it in here, which is weird, because I'm sure they have a model for it. Maybe they don't, but I'm sure they put whatever they have. But this is what's nice now. Now that modern Star Trek's been going a while, we have all these models. We have the legacy ships, the new ships, the stow ships in 3D models we can use and are high enough quality. We'll see them. It's not just going to be Discovery everywhere. Gilbert, those formations looks like a Terran Empire symbol for the Mirror Universe. Kinda, yeah. I was looking for Borg symbol. I don't imagine that's intentional, but it'd be kind of fun if it was. I think they just thought it looked cool. I don't know. It does seem like an odd formation to me. I'd now like to thank... No way, that's not the physical model, is it? It's just something about those bumps feels like digitally enhanced, but physical. No, surely like some private collector owns the physical Enterprise D. Yeah, that's gonna be the CGI model. It's very well done, though. Alright, it's time. Exterior, gorgeous. I literally just thought it maybe would have been the physical model. That's the highest praise I could get. I would like to thank Star Trek Picard for giving me another example of how you can take these classic sets, build them in a modern budget, modern production value, modern show, and still have them work. God dang it, I had the frame, and then I lost it. Look at this. Try telling me a modern audience wouldn't accept this set. It's gorgeous. It works. You can do it. You can have a beautiful... it doesn't have to be this. In fact, it shouldn't be this in Picard. It should be an evolution of, like the Deep Space Nine, the Dominion War Fleet, the Enterprise E. Did the Enterprise E have carpets? I'm going to check that later. But, look at it. It's beautiful. The carpet is amazing. Are you telling me that the carpet wouldn't look good in a modern set? Because here you go. Oh, wait. Do they have the Beverly benches? I wanted to check this. Look at this. I'm going to let it run, flashing off. It's perfect. Look, the paneling, the walls, the texture, but still it's the smooth, it's the solid color. The carpeting, the doors, the paneling, the window. This one time, Kurtzman, I'm going to let it slide. This one time. The ops. Oh no, the Enterprise F. Oh no. Whoops, that was too intense. The Enterprise skedaddled. No, I want to get this. I'm sorry, but I loved this shot. When Geordi says lights, because back in the day, if you don't know, the overwhelming majority of L cars were screens that, like, you would it'd be a black screen that you'd kind of cut out holes for and put like tinted something under them. They were static. They were just backlit, like Eagle Moss. Actually, my review of the Eagle Moss shuttle set, I show some of them off because Eagle Moss made little L cars. They were exactly like that. I don't think until like Enterprise, in the shows, they were actually, like, screens. And so seeing, wait for it, seeing this. No, Alex, I want you to see this. Alex, look at this beauty. Look at that. Seeing these old L cars do that. Oh, that's so good.
I'm sure it's even cooler with music.
It's just the TNG theme, I'm sure. It was muted for me. But they made the sounds as well, didn't they? Hang on. No, I'm gonna hit this right. Hang on. I'm gonna get the scene. Okay. Look at, they make the sounds, the beeps. That was beautiful. That, I'm gonna have to steal that for some sort of start a stream. I'm speechless. I mean, that's what they should be. It makes these operating systems that, like, they do seem kind of unintuitive, L cars. They're weird. They're visually iconic, but that makes them feel so much more real, so much more futuristic. Like, this is actually a computer. Those things do stuff. Those buttons work. It boots up. This is a machine, a huge, massive ship that takes 1,000 people to operate. That takes 1,000 people to operate. That takes 1,000... Yeah, you get my point. One thing that's going to be odd, we'll have to see moving forward. The Enterprise D has a crew of 1,000 people. I've just seen the discoloring in the neck. I'm not sure. That may have been there. But, like, a lot of those people you don't need right now. All the science labs, you don't need them. But, like, can the Enterprise really be crewed from the bridge alone? Here's a funny thing as well. Why are they bringing the Enterprise? Are they going to saucer separate? Because if they don't saucer separate, the fans will be happy, but that'd just be plain weird. But other than that, like, no one's in engineering right now. There's no repair bays and stuff. I mean, if the Enterprise gets in a fight, it's going to be unbelievable anyway. But considering the whole point is that, like, Geordi was kind of against the automation and this was a museum, it feels weird that he would have automated the Enterprise D that's, like, just would have sat here forever. Gilbert, Geordi automated the whole dang ship, apparently. Well, that's the thing. Maybe he didn't. Maybe they're gonna struggle. This is something for next episode. But, I hope they don't just fly it like normal, because otherwise you'd look at the Next Generation and wonder why they have a crew. Like, yeah, they need the scientists and stuff, but, like, why is engineering staffed, you know, if this is all they're gonna need? Stress VK, are you and Alex gonna watch Strange New Worlds Season 1 together before Season 2 comes out? No. I'm taking Alex through Star Trek, basically with my watch order guides. So they've seen all of Kirk's stuff. They're on the Next Generation. And basically I'm going to take them through all the classics before we get to the new things. I'd love to have Alex join us for the live streams and stuff. But it's going to be a very long time. I mean, Alex goes through them pretty slow. We're still on Season 2 of Next Generation.
Rude.
And we're trying to go through Doctor Who at the same time, which is even slower. But the between Strange New Worlds and Picard, we're going to do the probably more TOS watch-throughs, watch-alongs, and Alex is invited. They'll probably be there for some of those. But no, I'll probably give it another go, especially because I think I'm going to talk a lot about what I see as fundamental problems with Strange New Worlds, and I'm going to want to understand those problems before going into Season 2. I won't do a watch-along, though, because if you want to see my reactions to Strange New Worlds, watch my reaction videos. But, no, eventually Alex will get to Strange New Worlds, like, probably when our kid is in elementary school. And if you're there going, I don't know you two had a kid, we don't. That's the point. But yeah, look at this beauty. Let's just pet it. Pet the Enterprise. I mean, yeah. Actually, here's the thing. It looks like I'm wrong. It's not taking the classic fleet into battle. It's just taking the Enterprise D. And I mean, I guess it makes sense. A battle with, like, the Enterprise D, let alone all these older ships, is literally unbelievable. The Enterprise D can't fight, especially in the show. They're saying, like, oh, these old shields, like, it can't fight. But, like, especially against the entire fleet. But, I mean, it's good. It's a good kind of, like, nostalgia. And for Picard Season 3... It's not just nostalgia. I made the joke at the start of the stream that, like, oh, it's the show that is not a TNG reunion. It is. That is an aspect of this show. But it's not just, let's get the band back together for another season. It's telling its own story that's doing its own things in the universe. It's taking these existing characters and doing new things with all of them. It's respecting them. It's respecting the journeys they would have been on. It's building off of the classic series. It's building off of where their arcs should have gone, the endings they should have got, and it's giving these people a proper farewell in a good way. And that we've seen the conclusions to so many arcs, and we can see these people in a much happier place. I mean, All Good Things wasn't unhappy, but it's fantastic. Speaking of the end of The Next Generation, they haven't announced it yet, but I'm on Star Trek Picard's Memory Alpha page, and Alex. They don't have to live with... Well, what was the point of the series? The Last Generation? Oh, you're gonna be poetic with your episode 1, but I'm sorry. The name of the last season of Picard is ... must come to an end. That's just the name. That's been the name for the past 20 years. No, that's been the name for the past 30, 40 years. My first thought when they announced this show was that the last episode should be called ... must come to 0 out of 10. This is, quite frankly, it doesn't even deserve the name Star Trek. It doesn't deserve to be television. It deserves... Everyone should go find out where Alex Kurtzman lives. He probably wasn't even responsible for this, but you should go poop on his front lawn. And they've announced the name for the last episode. Also, don't poop on Alex Kurtzman's law. That's illegal.
Only if you get caught.
No, well, it's illegal for me to incite it. Don't do it.
Remember, government, when the lawn gets pooped on, it's all because of Nathan.
Honestly, this is incredibly disappointing.
Pooping on the lawn?
0 out of 10. Would not watch it. In fact, I'm going to go burn. I'm going to just break my copies of Picard, just snap the discs in half. I'm not going to put... This doesn't deserve... I'm sorry you had to see this, everyone. I shouldn't have streamed that. And expect my apology video in the next millennia. Gilbert, Worf basically saying he wished he had the Enterprise E was gold. I love that as well. Worf's little one-liners. Done really well. Like, Worf is like Star Trek's version of Obi-Wan. I know Worf would have come first. Like prequel Obi-Wan. But without ruining the character, or kind of like taking him down a few pegs. 1,000,000 points if you can manage to fit a line where like either Worf says or someone tells Worf, it's over, I have the high ground. Amazing. But oh my god, Worf wouldn't let the Enterprise E alone. I think he really wanted it out, and he captained a ship as well. I mean, The Enterprise E is Worf's Enterprise, right? Even the F, it's probably like superior to the Enterprise E, but it's not a warship. Like it's probably just as capable, but it's a luxury warship. That sounds weird. But the Enterprise D was the cruise liner in space. The Enterprise E was the battleship in space. The Enterprise F is the luxury cruise battleship in space. That's what it is. I think that's why I like it so much. It's an acknowledgement of the readiness Starfleet needs, the difficulties of the past like decade or two that was the Enterprise E, but it's also a return to a time of stability, of peacefulness, of what the Federation really stood for, of growth, of prosperity that the Enterprise D was. I think that's why the Enterprise E works so well for me. And I usually am not even the biggest fan of the white for that fleet. I mean, but the Enterprise E nails it. I have both of them. The Enterprise F, sorry, yeah, the F, not the E. And the more traditional style, the gray Enterprise F Eaglemoss made. I don't even know what my gray F is. I haven't the foggiest idea, but my white Enterprise F is firmly on my lineage wall. That it's not the same setting, but if you go to my channel banner, my Enterprise F sits firmly right here, still to this day, on this very cabinet. But before I leave, I did want to check Enterprise E. That is OE. Does the Enterprise E have carpet? Enterprise E bridge. The Defiant had carpet. Yes! That looks like carpet to me. With, you know, I swear that's Matt Damon every time. Oh, yeah, look, it had carpet. But, you know, it was more metallic. Like, it had that feel. I should do, a video on, like... There's 2 Starship videos I want to do with the, watch order guide coming to a close soon. I only have the Academy and, SETI Alpha 5 little blurbs to edit, and then it's just, like, the final pass or 2. And then that video should come out soon. But then after that, I either want to do, like, a complete history of Starship design, like, why I love how the eras change so much, I love the consistency and how Starfleet design changes over time. Even if I don't necessarily like the designs themselves. And the other one is how fast does the Federation produce starships? I thought I was going to do the latter because I happen to know it has a very interesting conclusion. I've already done the math. But I don't know, this episode might sway me towards the starship design. Like a series, maybe. I don't know. I've been debating whether I let you guys vote between, like, 3 topics for the next main video. But you might vote wrong, and I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if there's a right answer, though. We'll see, but be on the lookout for more video content after the watch order guide. I think they'll always going to take a little while to produce. I might try for some shorts and stuff. More Eaglemoss as well. Now that Master Replicas is running, they're next up. We're going to get some unreleased ships pretty soon from them. I'll review all of them. Don't you worry. If I can get my hands on them, which I'm cautiously optimistic for, I'll review them. Vancouver, Stargazer, 32nd Century, I'll cover them. I got some of the newer models that they never released. Like in my hands, I got some of those Armstrong, Newton, the other ones, like the JJ-verse ships. I might make a video out of those. And Alex and I, we did ages ago the Starship review. We did another one of those. that at some point I'll edit and go out. And then I don't know if we'll do more, because Alex thinks every Federation starship on the universe is just another Enterprise.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
No.
But,
shut up.
So I might, if we do more, I'll have to do something different. Like, maybe I'll show him the Vulcan ships, or, if I get all the Stowe ships, I can do that. But I'm still not sure if we'll get more or not. It might depend on how well the next one does, because I don't think the next one was great, but I think the highest view count of all the Star Trek newbie ones we've done is the one that we both think is the most boring. Which... I mean, hey, I guess if it's popular, but maybe I'll do the stations. We'll see. But I really want to get back into the videos. And then there'll be a video the week after Picard. Hang on. Basically, when I would have a live stream for Picard episode 11. Yeah, the 29th. I'll have a better update video for what we're going to do till Strange New Worlds. There is no live stream on the 29th, but there is something special on the 30th. Which I don't know if it's a secret or not. I don't think it's a secret, but that'll also be... keep your calendars open for... I just closed my calendar. The 30th, yeah, 11 p.m. a.m. PST. 23 hours after the live stream normally would be. But yeah, I think I'll wrap it up then, because there doesn't seem to be anything else more in the comments. Just flash it up. So the reason I do that is I have a little playback of the live stream. So when I do something like this, I can see when you actually see that moment. So basically, if I say something, then do this, I ask a question and do that, there we go, I just saw it. I know at what point you have heard the question. So now, I'll give it a little bit, and if no one responds, I'll wrap it up. But I mean, this has been I was cautiously optimistic for Picard, Season 3, I think. Feel free to find myself proving me wrong. But, this was great. No, I've loved this. I'm very happy with this. Even if they botch the plot next episode, short of, like, horrifically murdering the Next Generation cast, I don't think they can really bring this down as, like, a conclusion. In terms of the characters' arcs and stuff, I think they're firmly secured. And, I'd be surprised if they kill anyone off. Maybe Picard. I don't know. But this feels much more like they want a happy ending. Like, I mentioned before, I think one of the problems with Nemesis, why it was disliked so much, and even once I realized this, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Nemesis ends in a downer. I don't think that's great for, like, your last adventure. And of course, next episode must come to an end. That's the title of the episode. 100% confirmed. But, you know, I feel like this time they'd want to learn from their lessons and be like, well, we gotta end when, like, it's nice. You know, you gotta end going, that's nice. Yes, it's been a pretty solid season so far. Oh, yep, definitely. I mean, it had one of the best scenes in the entire franchise with Data and Geordi's talk, but, I'm looking forward to the next episode, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on this in Blu-ray. But without further ado, then, I think I will wrap it up. Thanks. Oops, I hit the Enterprise F. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.